Cruise ship with Russian tourists leaves Georgian port amid public protests.
Here's a summary of the article.
Ukrainian military officials and regional authorities said on July 27 that Russian forces launched fresh indiscriminate missile barrages and drone strikes that killed and wounded several civilians as Ukraine's military reportedly steps up its counteroffensive in the south. In the central region of Vinnytsia, at least 5 people were wounded by debris falling from downed Russian-caliber cruise missiles, regional governor Serhiy Borzov said on July 27. Putin, speaking in St. Petersburg on the sidelines of a Russia-Africa summit, lauded what he said was the heroism of Russian troops and claimed that Ukrainian forces suffered heavy material and human losses. Ukrainian Infrastructure Minister Alexander Kubrakov said Russia has damaged or destroyed 26 port installations and grain storage facilities since refusing to extend the deal that would have allowed the continued export of Ukrainian food to the world. Kubrakov, speaking late on July 26, said the goal of the Russian attacks, to deprive the world of Ukrainian food, thus creating a global food crisis. In a statement issued after a meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Council in Brussels, NATO said the Allies also condemned Russia's recent missile attacks on Odessa, Mykolaiv, and other port cities, including Moscow's cynical drone attack on the Ukrainian grain storage facility in the Danube port city of Reni, which is close to Ukraine's border with NATO member Romania. Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Yuri Inat said the Ukrainian military shot down Russian missiles in the Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Dnipropetrovsk regions late on July 26.
This post received a score of 3,300, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Greater than the protests in Batumi and in the capital, Tbilisi, broke out after some Russian tourists on the ship told Georgian media that they supported Russia's 2008 war against Georgia and that Moscow had liberated Abkhazia, the breakaway region Georgia lost control of during the conflict. Protesters burned the Russian flag and unfurled banners with anti-Russian slogans.
That moment when you think you are the main character in a foreign nation?
Russian arrogance and exceptionalism is on another level.
Being a Russian exceptionalist is like being proud of a turd you grunted out.
This reminds me of that vid from the first few days of the war when a Russian vessel asked for fuel and the Georgian captain told them to find an oar and row.
Time to put that Rus namesake to the test.
I bet the company is delighted about the additional cost, likely refunds etc. from a couple nationalistic idiots running their mouths to the media. Good on the Georgians.
Yeah, good, that the Georgian people stood up. In an open society there's no place for aggressive war criminals.
How open is Georgian society? I'm sure they're better than their neighbor to the north, but that whole region isn't exactly famous for healthy government.
Their government is effectively run by a Georgian oligarch with close ties to Russia. However, Georgians can protest openly, and do.
Elmao, it sounds like they were rushing to get out of there.
Thanks, Dad. Russians doing what they do best, talking shit and running away.
What was the original interview about? Maybe it's a Russian thing, but I find it extremely weird to go to a country and then talk to the local media about how you support the invasion of their country.
This is another show-off solidarity towards the brave and courageous people of Ukraine. We must never forget they are the victims and Russia is the aggressor.
Georgia was invaded by Russia and part of it was annexed. They are the victims here and this is why they are pissed at the Russians.
As simple as.
People need to understand that it isn't just Putin. A big chunk of Russians agree with that shit. I've worked with a Russian chick between 2013 and 2016 and she lived most of her life in a EU and NATO country and she supported the invasion of Crimea and always said Putin did good for Russia. People need to get it right. This is cultural and Russians are also to blame. Absolutely. The vast majority of Russians are like that, and since chauvinism and imperialism are indeed, as you rightfully noted, cultural in Russia, these features are not related to any specific demographic. Bad boomers, good youth, bad rednecks, good hipsters, etc. These are just as false as the bad Putin, good Russians nonsense. This is culture, and only very few individual exceptions don't embrace it. This is a very important thing to understand and fully realize because believing it's just Putin and basing policies on this faulty idea is a recipe for new war in the future.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes. and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.